Welcome back to Talking at Home Edition. We're back with Angela Kang, Lauren Cohan, and Lynn Collins. Lynn, what is going on in Leah's mind when she's hiding and Daryl just lets her go?
Well, that was such an interesting scene. We actually didn't have that much time to film it. So when I was like thinking in my head, you know, like I always think the night before, like, how am I going to do this? It was very different from how I imagined because we just didn't have time. So we had to like really condense, like for an actor, like, what am I thinking? Well, everything had to be super condensed. So in that moment, I think it was just like, is he going to kill me? Is he going to kill me? Is he going to kill me? And he doesn't. And I think that, you know, you see her able to have that reaction afterwards that he doesn't kill her, which, you know, they keep saving each other's lives. They keep giving each other this, you know, baton, so to speak. So now she's on her own. You know, and now she's like the most dangerous, really, I think a person could be, because she's lost everything, now has nothing to lose, and probably wants revenge, you know. Everything she loves has been taken.
But would she have spared Daryl if it were reversed?
I think yes. I think, yes, she would, because we already see her do that right after she kills Pulp, remember? Right, you know, right before the whole Watcha thing starts being lit and, you know, it's Armageddon, basically. So I think it would be constantly letting him go, even though he betrayed her. I mean, they were in love, right? I mean, that's what I think is so heartbreaking about this, is that it's not that there wasn't love there. It's just, you know, it's the zombie apocalypse. You have to choose your people that you're protecting. I mean, I would have loved for them all to have come together and work together, but that's a different show.
Yeah.
That's a totally different world. That's my fantasy world.
Angela, what does it mean that Daryl lets her go?
I think Daryl has a memory of somebody that he met a long time ago who seemed really sweet, who was grieving, who loved her child, who showed him mercy, and he's wondering if that person is still in there. Like, if you go back and watch the episode where they were kind of out and they come across this family in episode 7, I think, and she gets the order, like, kill them all, basically, from her commander, and he's, like, watching to see, like, is she going to do it? And she doesn't. And she looks emotional about it. And so that's kind of giving him signals that, like, you know, like, she has a problem with some of the aspects of what the Reapers are doing too. Like, she's not just in lockstep. She has her own mind. Like, I do still see a person who is not too far gone. And so Negan's been redeemed. Like, maybe like we all can work together. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know unless, like, we try to give each other a chance. And so I think, like, that's really what's at the heart of it, is he wants to believe that maybe they can reach each other still, you know, whatever the future may bring. At least maybe they can leave each other alone. Maybe she can start over. Maybe he can start over.
Okay, so let's just move topics really quickly, because there's a very specific moment where you can see something clicks in Maggie's head and she decides she's going to gun down the Reapers. Angela, can you just talk really quickly about what her mindset is in that moment and what causes that switch to flip?
Yeah, I mean, I think for Maggie, like, she's been on this mission and it's always been about let's protect who we have, but also, you know, they did come in and kill the people that she was with, killed Elijah's family, and she made him a promise. And I think it breaks her heart to see this young man who is so loyal to her, so brokenhearted and beaten down by this group. And, you know, I think the words of Negan ring in her ear when he said to her, like, I should have killed you all. Like, it's such a cruel thing to say in many ways from Negan, but at the same time, like, he's right. She knows that when you have a group that's strong, they're not going to, like, give up. Just like she and Rick and Daryl and Carol, like, they didn't give up when the Saviors kind of marched through, and there's a danger there. And, like, again, like Maggie, she made a promise to Elijah, and I think it's hard for her to, like, in that moment, just see him in pain and go, like, they deserve to walk away from this, you know?
Lauren, what was your reaction to that?
Yeah, it's so funny because Angela, you and I never really talked about that, but that was really resonant for me, that a few episodes before, regardless of the fact that she heard it from Negan, this idea for Maggie that to really protect your family, you may need to do to take extreme measures to kind of eliminate a threat. I think, sort of her duty to Elijah and to her family, and to somehow make something right out of so many things that had gone wrong. This felt like the right decision in that moment. And I love that. I love the way that you peppered in these sort of ideas of leadership and the challenge and the struggle of leadership, in earlier parts of the season, for it to come to fruition in such a heartbreaking way here. And that's the compelling part about what all these characters are going through. That line between is when a good character is doing it, does it become bad, or do we sort of continue to believe that the good guys are good? So I don't know. It's been a good, great, fun challenge for us this year, for me.
Angela, what is your reaction to seeing Okayemi Akwari bring such depth to Elijah in this episode?
I mean, I think is just an amazing actor. He did such a lovely audition for us. And originally the role was going to be maybe a little smaller, but we all just kind of fell in love with him as an actor. And I think there's just such a humanity to the way he plays this role. Originally, the role was maybe going to be a character that was so traumatized he could barely speak, which is kind of how we started him. But we had him audition with just silent grief as well as with, some dialogue, and he did both things so beautifully. So I knew that he could play grieving and broken, because it's the first thing I ever saw him do. But it just still was really, really wonderful to see the footage come back, and I was so moved by his performance. So just a shout out to our wonderful actor. He's fantastic and just a lovely, lovely person.
Lauren, how would you describe the relationship between Maggie and Elijah?
It's definitely a very strong family bond, and it's so easy to play that with Okay. I mean, he's such a warm person, and he's just so easy to feel for and to feel protected both for and by. I mean, he has this kind of, he's very close with his family. We connected a lot about that. We both sort of have that vibe, and it's just wonderful. I'm so glad that he's had the opportunity to have a bigger role in the show than maybe was originally intended. And then for the character, it's great because we've had the opportunity. It's a funny thing, but Maggie loses a lot of her family early on in this series, and with characters like Okay and with Callan, it's the same thing where you sort of get to see this sibling bond brought to the screen with people that I genuinely just love and connect with so much. And that's a real shout out to the casting and to finding these amazing actors, because it was the same with Callan. When he left, I was like, this is someone that genuinely has made me laugh and has brought me so much joy on this show. And, we get to do this amazing stuff together, and then sometimes people leave, and that's part of the truth of the job. But yeah, it's been a pretty special season.
Well, before we go to break, I want to remind you that if you want early access to episodes of The Walking Dead, you want to see other shows that you'll enjoy, you can sign up for AMC Plus at amcplus.com. Coming up, we have interviews with the cast. Later, we have an exclusive sneak peek of next week's episode of The Walking Dead. We'll be right back on Talking Dead Home Edition.
This was a big hero's return for Eugene when he came back to Alexandria. He had all the wagons, the troopers, the supplies, the resources. And he's going to introduce the community members there to Hornsby. What I risked everything for was for you. And look, it's paying off. And it's a really great moment for Eugene, for him to come back and to have that hero's return, because with him just sending people yeah, that's where our community is, go find them, that wouldn't work. He gets to actually show people, and he gets to see that they're pleased. There's a moment that he has as he's kind of giving the speech and introducing Hornsby. He locks eyes with Rosita, and it's such an important moment where she's so proud of him. It was probably the most important part, other than, hey, here's this guy that's going to save us.
Welcome back to Talking Dead Home Edition. That was Josh McDermott on Eugene's role in introducing Alexandria to the Commonwealth. We're back with Angela, Lauren, and Lynn. Lynn, was Leah surprised that this group defeated her incredibly well-trained Reapers?
I think definitely. I mean, this was it couldn't get worse, And it was also, you have to think about it. Like Pope was basically casting everybody out to be killed. I mean, there was, yes, it was that, Maggie and her team are strong, but it's also like, it was like infighting within, it was difficult to protect the guys even before there was this standoff. So it must have been, for this character, just like watching everything fall apart, and especially like the Reapers, because it was so psychological, the way that they were structured and so manipulative in so many ways. I can't even imagine like how truly horrific it must have been for her. It was like everybody was just being picked off. And, there's that moment where she says goodbye to Carver, and I believe that she knows that he's about to die. And yet she's going to try to save as many as she can, which means she kind of sacrifices him. I don't know, it was just truly a standoff because there was no way around it but to flee, but to run, which is the opposite of her, and core, I feel like.
Angela, I have a weird question, which is whenever I see the Commonwealth, the stormtrooper suits, I can't help but wonder, like, do they make a lot of noise when they're filming? They just look so, like, is there a special way that you have to shoot when you have these groups of people in the suits?
Suits are super quiet.
Oh, they are.
They were not, like Greg Nicotero and the Can-Be group, like worked on those suits based off of the amazing drawings in the comic. But they're made out of like a kind of I want to say it's like a hard foam or something. Excuse me, Greg, if I have this wrong. But they're actually really quiet. But when I watch it on screen, I'm like, that should be loud. So we add clank on the back end in post. And we sit and mix, and I go like, more armor clank, less armor clank, like me and the editor. So, but it feels better when they have like a loud presence, because they're so the opposite of the whisperers who operated in silence. They don't care if everybody hears them moving around the world because they're going to mow them down anyway.
Would you say that when the troopers need a snack, they get a little clanky?
If the suit's what?
When they need a snack, do they get clanky?
Hey, no!
Sorry.
Oh my God.
Done. Lauren, it had to be done. You have to. Yes. Absolutely necessary. Absolutely necessary. Points, I say. Points. I want to talk a little bit about the Commonwealth. And I love Lance Hornsby. And Lance getting up at the end and addressing everyone after what they've just been through. It just reminded me of like someone coming to give a talk at a high school like, hey, kids, you don't need rock music. You don't need to drink to have a good time, because everyone's just kind of like, who is this guy? What is happening? What do you think Maggie's first impression of Lance Hornsby is?
She's clearly not impressed with Hornsby. He's like a snake oil salesman that turns up at their door with things they just don't need. And then lo and behold, we see that he's somehow gotten Daryl to be a stormtrooper, which has got to be just massively suspicious. I'm sure for everybody that's been watching, how can this possibly happen? So no, we don't like Hornsby.
Lynn, can you talk a little bit about shooting the scene where Maggie shoots Leah?
Lauren's pretty terrifying, I'm just going to say. Like, when Lauren commits, you got to stay out of her way. She's the honey badger, right? So,
or she'll shoot you in the shoulder. Or she'll commit to shooting you in the shoulder.
Yes. I mean, look, I have loved working with Lauren to such a degree that I hope, sister, we get to play again together because it's been just so incredible. Her level of commitment, it holds the sort of whole membrane of the shoot because, we have her and Norman and they're our leaders. I think with Lauren, though, it's always in the back of my mind when we've been working together of like, okay, I can't imagine playing a character for like 11 years and to serve that story. Like if Leah is a villain for Maggie, like then how do I fill that so that it's as heightened as possible for her? So yeah, running away from her shooting it was thrilling.
Well, I want to talk about Gabriel. He's basically just not having it at all anymore from anybody. This is such a different Gabriel than what when we think back all those years ago. Angela, can you talk about the moment? How did you come up with the Gabriel sniper moment, the call me Gabriel?